Now this is the law of the desert, as blue and as vast as the sky, and the wolf that shall keep it may prosper. Like the birds that hunt as they fly, the family that hunts together eats together. Such is the way of Harris's hawk, and their way is uniquely theirs. This bird is the only raptor in the animal kingdom that truly is a clever girl, hunting in a pack. But when prey is sparse and can see you coming, you'll need help on the hunt in life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. Check it out. And a very special thank you to our patrons, to Tristan Taylor, Jesse Raspolich, Carol Raspolich, and Richard Kaspar. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on.
And today we're talking about the wolf pack of the sky, but more on that later.
Yeah, we're talking about Harris's hawk. Why can't I find a raptor like that? It's got Harris's hawk. So if you find it, return it to Harris immediately.
Yes.
It's like Reese's peanut butter cups. It's not
you
yours.
You can't eat those.
It's Reese's.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the Malcolm in the Middle family and hand it to Reese. So the Harris's hawk is also known as the bay-winged hawk. It's called the dusky hawk, the wolf hawk, and in Spanish it's called the peuco. But we're gonna call it here.
Oh, we don't know.
Oh, do you want to know what it means? I don't know what that means. It means
no worries.
Harris's hawk. We're going to call it here Practical Strike, the
nice.
Brown Coats, and the Clever Girls. Clever Girl.
Good. Because it's a raptor.
Yeah, and that's it. Would you like a heaping helping of taxonomy?
Rough-legged hawk.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
That's peuco.
Oh, is that what that means?
I guess.
The wolf hawk sounds like the sequel to Lady Hawk. You ever seen that movie?
No.
It's a weird one. It's like a fantasy.
Never heard of it.
Where there's this guy and this girl, and they're like, he's a warrior. I think she's a warrior too, but by day he's a man and she is a hawk, and by night she is a woman and he is like I think he's a wolf. So they turn into animals, but they're never together as people. So it's like this star-crossed lovers kind of thing. There's some action.
How did they fall in love?
I think they were cursed or something afterwards or whatever.
Gotcha.
I don't remember. Don't quote me on it. It has probably been 20-something years since I've seen it. Anyway, we're talking about the Harris's hawk, not Lady Hawks. Taxonomy time. It's in the kingdom you know, love, and are in, and that kingdom is Animalia. The phylum is Chordata, because it's a bird. It's got a spine. The class, because it's a bird, is Aves. 101. That class. Or 1101, I guess. The order, this one I knew off the top of my head. I'm getting better at this. Is Accipitriformes. So raptors are all in Accipitriformes. So like falcons and hawks and eagles. The family is Accipitridae. The genus is Parabuteo. And the species is Unicinctus. So Parabuteo unicinctus is the binomial nomenclature. But since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show, critter groups. The part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question, and that question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of this animal, or what is the term of venery, or what is the collective noun? We have a term of venery for hawks. I think we've done a hawk before, so I don't think we've covered this term of venery yet. So, if you saw a group of hawks, which as we'll find out is more likely than you might think, would you call it A, an aviary of hawks, B, a boil of hawks, C, a cinch of hawks, or D, a derelict of hawks?
What's the first two?
Aviary and boil. A, B, C, D. Aviary, boil, cinch, and derelict.
Oh, cinch, final answer.
Incorrect. The answer is boil. It's a boil of hawks.
I would never have guessed that one. Actually, I would have after 4 tries.
that would have been number 4. You'd eventually gotten it.
A boil. They strike again.
Do they?
In terms of venery maker.
Oh, you got the last one right.
The terms of venery, they just like refuse to make something make sense.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they pull out a good one. But it's a rarity indeed. Yeah, this is a boil of hawks. Would have been better for shrimp. A boil of shrimp would have been better.
Mm-hmm. Or lobster.
Yeah, lobster. Would you like to hear what this Harris's hawk looks like?
Sure.
All right, so Harris's hawk is a large, intense-looking raptor, raptor is, yes, the name of a dinosaur, but also it's the term used for birds in the Accipitriformes order. So strong, fast birds of prey like eagles and hawks and falcons, etc., etc. Adults have dark brown feathers on their backs, heads, and tips of their wings. I was reading this on Wikipedia. It called their feathers brownish, but I would say that these are the brownest hawks in the verse. These are not brownish, like that show Blackish. It's definitely brown. No ifs, ands, or buts. Their shoulders, quote unquote shoulders, are like a lighter chestnut, maybe like a rufous brown. Also, their legs are the same color. Their tails are tinged with white, but juveniles have more white, or what's called buff, which is kind of like this cream canvas color, I guess, on their undersides. That's how you can tell the difference. They have big, sharp, hooked yellow beaks, and that are tipped with gray at the end, and a very furrowed brow and piercing black eyes. You do not want to mess with a Harris's hawk. It looks like it just wants to mess you up. But like I said, they're large. It's a rather large raptor. It's not the biggest raptor, for sure, not even close, but it is a pretty big. We have a lot of like red-shouldered hawks here in Jacksonville, and I'm always surprised at how relatively small they are. I'm like, whenever I think of a hawk, I think of this huge bird, but it's really like, it's like a big crow.
We have red-tailed hawks here, and they can get pretty big.
Yeah, so when I see like the red-shouldered hawk, which I think is a little bit smaller than the
and
average
they look
one,
very similar, red-tailed and red-shouldered.
There are a lot of ospreys in South Florida. I remember seeing them.
Oh,
a lot.
yeah.
That was probably the most common raptor that I saw. And those are a little bigger, I think. But yeah, so maybe you could call these guys medium-sized, but I would call them relatively large for a bird. So how big are they, Joe?
Great question. Welcome to the Beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send in audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering the words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new measure up intro this week, but that means we get to hear from a animal that actually makes a sound for once.
Is this the classic eagle screech from Westerns?
No, what did we say? Oh, what did we say it was this?
No, it's just a hawk. I don't remember. I don't think we said it was any. We had a species of hawk, but whenever you hear like the eagle screeching overhead in a Western with that like really high pitched screech, it's not an eagle at all.
No,
it's a hawk. Just
'cause
like
it would sound like a seagle if it was an eagle.
It sounds like a weak chirp if it was an eagle, but it's
really high pitched. Yeah,
it's like the MGM lion actually being a tiger's roar and not a lion's roar.
Okay, without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. That's a little bit like just a high pitched scream as well.
Yeah, it's definitely not the classic one, but it's just as unpleasant to be up close.
The classic one might be like the Willem scream, where it's just like a canned thing that we've been using forever.
It's just one bird made that sound one time,
40 years ago.
Yeah. Like that one guy that goes, yeah.
That's the Willem scream. That's what I just said.
No. There's like a, I don't know. I can't recreate that scream, but
it's like the other one that's not the Willem scream. You're saying, like there's two that float around a lot.
Yeah, it's just like the horror scream, not the falling scream. But anyway, forget about it. I can't. I thought it was going to come out a lot better when I had made the sound, and it didn't. And the baby's sleeping next door, so I'm not going to try it again.
We're still sort of in the age of
love, technology. Sail?
We're in the 70s. We're in the age of sail. No, we're in the age of empathy, where we get to explore some of Carlos's interests since we're making him do math. Although we're also sort of in the age of like upcoming films, and you'll see why. So the length of a Harris's hawk is 46 to 59 centimeters, or 18 to 23 inches. Not too shabby, not too giant, though. It's no bald eagle. It's no condor. It's no harpy eagle. I guess eagles are just... When I was a kid, I always thought, like, falcons are little, hawks are medium, eagles are big. And I was like, that's the only difference between birds of prey.
I mean, that's not the only difference, but that's...
And owls are their own thing.
That's pretty on point.
Yeah, I mean, it ends up being quite true. So how many Harris's hawks go into the barrel length of the Canon de 12 Gribeauval? My sister would be able to pronounce that better. It is a French term. Canon de Gribeauval. A French cannon used in the Napoleonic Wars. So I don't think you've been deep diving into like this era of warfare.
I did read a biography on Napoleon like 3 years ago. So
okay, but it is a gun technically.
Yes, it is a very big gun. It's artillery.
Here's a hint: the cannon fired a shot that was nearly 13 pounds. Why would the gun that shoots 13 pounds be called the 12-pounder? Because the pounds were the old French pound, which was like sometimes it was not, standardized. So sometimes it was the same as we have today in terms of pounds, but sometimes it was a little bit different. So The 12-pound gun shot a 13-pound round. The gun was invented by Jean-Baptiste Vaquet de Gribouval, a French artillery officer who created his own production system that developed lighter guns that didn't sacrifice range. He was a strong advocate and an early father for the standardization and interchangeability of gun parts. So guns are cheaper today than they would have been if him and other people weren't thinking, maybe when a piece of our gun breaks, it shouldn't be irreplaceable.
We shouldn't just throw the entire cannon at the enemy. We should try to fix it.
Or make it
down
from
the hill.
scratch like a key.
Cannons were kind of like in their heyday at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I think. See, when I think of cannons, I think of like it's like the Saint Augustine fort. I forgot what the fort is called.
From the pictures, it doesn't look like they're that. Like they're like ship cannons. They're like these light cannons on the wheels, that they could wheel around. The wagon wheel cannons.
If I remember right, the Napoleonic Wars, or Napoleon's army was based on being able to move large distances.
Yeah, quickly.
And surprise enemies. So probably not bringing a 2-ton, like 20-foot cannon, trying to drag that through the Prussian mud. So I'm going to go with, and it's the barrel length. I'll go with 3 feet. It's 36 inches. Or no, I'm just going to say 2. 2 hawks go into that. So I'm going to say there's a 46-inch cannon. That's my final answer. The answer is 2 hawks.
The correct answer is 3.9 hawks.
Oh boy.
The barrel was 7 feet 7 inches, 231 centimeters.
Yep, that's correct. I mean, that math checks out. That's a long boy. I was thinking of like a. I was envisioning those like little howitzer, not little, but like the howitzers in the at the end of The Last Samurai. But that was like 1860 something, and the Napoleonic Wars were like 50 years before that. So
let's talk about weight. Females tend to be heavier at 1,000 grams. 1,229 grams, or 2.269 pounds. So how many Harris's Hawks go into the TNT equivalent yield of the first nuclear bomb ever detonated?
Oh, boy.
So the first one, there's a Napoleon movie coming out, and this one, Oppenheimer's coming out. So they ended up both being movie themed almost.
Those are both movies that it's very rare that a movie makes me want to watch it, and Oppenheimer is one of the first ones in a long time. It's maybe one of like, I can't wait for that to come out. And I don't know, I didn't really like Joker, but I like Joaquin Phoenix, so maybe, and Napoleon's an interesting.
Although he's way old, like wasn't Napoleon in his 30s for most of his exploits?
I think so. Late 30s, maybe. I mean, he was like a huge political figure as a young man for a while, and when he became like dictator. I wonder if people realize how terrible of a person he was. Like, I feel like the average person like thinks of Napoleon as this great military leader, but he's up there with some of the more ruthless dictators of all time. So I wonder if this movie is gonna like actually.
Well, his men liked him, so he.
Yeah,
he had
but
a lot
so
of,
did
like,
the SS. They like their leader too.
But like, no, I'm saying like, I don't even know, like, was he a genius military leader or was he bold? And did he just like maintain good morale among his men? So they're willing to like follow his every.
The second
he didn't
thing,
have people running away easy.
He lost a lot of battles and somehow managed to build armies after losing over and over and over again. I don't know how people kept being like, yeah, we'll send all of our male population to your army, but he still managed to schmooze or coerce or threaten his way into like, oh, my entire army was absolutely wiped out. Next year I'll be back again trying to do the same thing with a bigger army. Like, how did you do that? So at first,
wasn't there one time where like he just marched after one of his exiles? He just like sailed back to France, and like walked up, and then like the people sent to arrest him just like joined him.
I don't remember that, maybe, but he was exiled like to Morocco or something like that, to Africa across the Mediterranean, and then he just decided not to be exiled anymore, came back and mustered an army and was defeated again. This is near the end of his life, but yeah, it's crazy, and the way he treated the countries that he marched through and the people that were there, and he's a piece of work. He's a piece of work, that's for sure. Didn't commit like genocide on the scales of like Stalin or Hitler or something like that, but goodness, definitely not a role model. Anyway,
here's a hint about the TNT equivalent of the first nuclear bomb detonated. The 1945 Trinity nuclear test was the first to detonate a nuclear bomb. The test took place in Socorro, New Mexico. Socorro.
That sounds Japanese.
Yeah, it's the rolled R.
Socorro.
Yeah, and it was directed by J. Robert Oppenheimer. The device was a plutonium implosion fusion bomb. I did a deep dive on the bombs recently, today. And so like in Hiroshima, I've heard Hiroshima and Hiroshima, so I kind of accidentally mixed both. The bomb that was dropped there was like a fraction of the yield that it could have done. The amount of fuel that like ended up imploding and like causing achieving fusion and blowing up was the like weight of a butterfly. And there was way more that just didn't end up.
Huh. I didn't know.
And then at the Bikini Atoll, that bomb, I forget what that one was called. The opposite happened. There was like an inert. There was a substance. There was like a radioactive substance in there they thought would be inert, that ended up also adding to the fuel. So it was way bigger than anyone thought, and ended up like drifting in a direction they didn't think it was going to go because of the wind change, and like absolutely wrecked with radiation some Pacific Islands and some Japanese fishing ships.
Yeah, that
so
was
that was a
crazy.
big messed up situation.
I tell you that I had a friend whose mom was named Gay and she was named after the Enola Gay.
That's horrible. Even like back then, like we weren't like, this is great. Like when Eisenhower is like telling the public, like, we've developed these bombs and it's going to be like really good for our military strength. Even then he's like, but it's kind of bad. like, like we don't want to use these. And so like there was no part in history where we were jazzed about the bomb.
Haven't you seen Doctor Strangelove? How I learned to stop worrying and love the bomb?
No. Like Oppenheimer before the bombs dropped was like
Now I
racked with guilt. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Just like AI, it changed the world. A little man,
How many
fat man, little boy.
How many Hawks worth of TNT exploded at the Trinity nuclear test? TNT is usually measured in kilotons.
Sure.
In terms of nuclear bombs.
Kilotons? Oh boy. That's 1,000 2000s.
Yeah. Because TNT is actually not... So the idea of like the way we measure it, like TNT equivalent to a nuclear bomb, the idea is like, let's compare the blast potential to a conventional explosive. But TNT is not even the most explosive conventional explosion. Dynamite is more powerful than TNT. So we're doing ourselves a disservice by making very large numbers because we're using TNT.
It's like we're using horsepower still
instead of like
to measure
tons of what's the stuff that's always in the movies, the action movies. It's like looks like Play-Doh or silly putty. It's white. What is it called?
plastic explosives.
Yeah, it's plastic explosive. What's the name for that?
Silly putty?
No.
C4?
C4. Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen it as like a white liquid. I've always seen it as
no.
what they have in the video games. Like
not liquid.
Block.
Like a block that like if you slide the device into, it's like soft. A soft, solid block.
Oh, well, like I think in C4 in the movies or like in Saving Private Ryan, they had like these big, it's like a big plastic, it's plastic explosives, but it's plastic box. Anyway, yeah. I'm going to say 10 million Hawks worth of poundage of explosion juice came from this first atomic bomb.
Yeah, there's a Reddit post. Why does C4 look like yummy mozzarella?
I don't think I've ever seen a movie or piece of media where like I've seen the actual C4. It's always
it looks like white Play-Doh.
Like video games.
But it's like, you're right. It is housed in like these bricks.
Yep. So I'm going to say 10 million Hawks.
Final answer.
Hawkstable. Yep. Cliff Hawkstable.
The correct answer is 25 million Hawks.
That is the same number of digits.
25,052,000.
Wow.
The blast was the same as 25 kilotons of TNT.
See, I thought it was 10 kilotons.
Close. Is that a nursing school?
No, not even close. Like less than half.
Yeah, it stinks when like just a couple million is quite a lot.
A couple million, I guess 10. The answer was 25.
Yeah, I mean even a couple of million is quite a lot off.
Oh, I should have guessed like 800 or something like that. That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
I'll be more wrong next time.
So that's all I got for that. Man, we could talk about the bombs forever.
Oh no, I think I've basically exhausted my knowledge about the atomic bombs, except for I think I know a little bit about their mechanism of action, but that's about it.
We've talked about Tsar Bomba before too on this.
Oh yeah, like the biggest one. I'll know more after I watch Oppenheimer when it releases on one of the streaming services that I have.
Like a year from now?
Sure. I'm still waiting for the Mario movie to show up. So, yeah. You ready for some fast facts before we get in the major fact?
Sure am.
All right, our Harris's hawk lives in Texas, Mexico, and parts of Central and South America, including Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, Brazil, and more. They eat small creatures, including birds, lizards, mammals, and large insects. Boils of Harris's hawks are matriarchal. The females also manage the childcare. They are apex predators, but their nests can still be raided by other hawks and coyotes. Eggs in those nests will hatch after about 5 weeks, and the babies are fledged in less than 2 months so that they can fly at that point. And they will go on to live about 25 years in the wild. But if they're not in the wild, and they are often used in falconry, which is training a bird of prey to go kill your enemies.
Especially if your enemies are rabbits.
Yeah, it's a hunting strategy. So, and that's all I got.
Well, I'm calling this one, obviously, the sky wolf. Harris's hawk is possibly the only raptor that hunts cooperatively. These birds have brains that make them very intelligent, which is part of the reason they're popular in falconry, because they're trainable, because they got good brains on their little red shoulders.
They're clever girls.
Yeah. Most birds of prey are solitary hunters, and they may even be aggressive with one another when they're near the same kill, like the bully bald eagle, who's a kleptoparasite in
Bully Baldy.
and really disappointed Benjamin Franklin. However, the hawk of Harris is a social bird that is known to hunt in packs. These sky wolves cooperate by flushing out prey animals for their other individuals on their team to swoop in and catch. Kind of like what that one like falcon we talked about, or is it a hawk that uses fire to flush out?
Oh, the black kite in
yes,
what's it called in Australia, the haughty quapper.
You don't need a blazing inferno when you can just have your buddy go down and like rustle some bushes. Packs can consist of 2 to 6 hunters. One bird will fly low or even hop on the ground to scare animals out of protective cover. Then they are exposed to the flying hunters above. When they catch the prey, they'll share, sometimes reluctantly, but they'll share. So why are they the only ones that do this? Why are they the only raptors that hunt cooperatively? Aren't raptors, the dinosaur, smarter than dolphins and whales, according to Jurassic Park? And clever girls pack hunting? Some researchers believe that this is an adaptation to living and hunting in the desert. So the desert is 2 things: inhospitable to an abundance of life, and also wide open. That means prey isn't very densely packed. So when you find an opportunity as a predator, it's important to capitalize. 10x your growth. Wide open spaces also mean that prey animals have good sight lines to see predators coming. So there aren't many tall trees that raptors can scope out rabbits and mice from. So you're sitting on top of a cactus, and as soon as you start swooping, everything goes into their little holes. So scarcity forces sharing and cooperation, and it works out. Pack hunting hawks increase their success by 10% compared to lone hawks. And I saw somebody say even like half, increase it by half, but 50%.
10% seems a little weak sauce.
Yeah, but I would love a 10% growth in me having a meal today. 10% extra chance.
Yeah, but then you have to share more than 10% of the meal.
True. Hunting groups are often made up of a mating pair and their offspring. Yearling and young hawks stick around the nest and help their parents hunt. In some cases, unrelated neighboring groups hunt together. So I saw a video where like a yearling the younger hawks are the ones that like often are the scarers. So they'll scare, and the more experienced parents will be the ones that swoop in and make the kill. Then they'll feast on it, and then the female will pick up the lion's share of the meal and bring it to the nest and feed the chicks.
It's the extortion fee.
Yeah.
This is a nice little rapid shop you got here. It would be quite a shame, if something happened to it. Fires, they're really destructive, and you never know when they're gonna start. So we're gonna have to take most of that kill from you.
And it doesn't stop at hunting. They will also kind of cooperate to protect nesting areas. And it's seasonal. So like in the off season, they'll work together to protect the nesting area. But in the breeding season, they'll protect the nest and the hunting zones from other groups of hawks and predators. So they're cooperative little guys.
Yeah, I am surprised that more raptors don't do this.
I mean, if you look at eagles, they are very aggressive when it comes to like sharing a kill. They do not like to do that.
But I guess most apex predators tend to be lone rangers. It's probably
true.
No, I'm just spitballing here, but it just going back over our Rolodex of animals. Like lions are an outlier. They're outlying in a field. In terms of like being pack hunters as
True.
Apex predators, where like leopards and crocodiles and cheetahs and other apex predators in the area are lone rangers.
They're outliers even just as cats. Cats just tend not to do that. But
Yeah.
It's also interesting to hear that like cooperation is a sign of intelligence, which makes sense. You have to coordinate.
So lions are smart, tigers are dumb. I got it.
Yeah. Cats are dumb, dogs are smart.
Yeah, I guess dogs usually tend to hunt in packs because they're smaller. Can you imagine if there was a dog this size of a tiger? That'd be pretty crazy.
A dire wolf. And now imagine there's 20 of those in a pack.
Yeah.
Dogs, have you ever seen a video of like wolves like catching something? Prey? It's horrifying. There's no worse fate. I think this is completely off topic. We're talking about a bird, but it is the wolf of the sky. But like just being torn apart by multiple things at once is the worst.
Yeah, that's why wolves are like the big bad in a lot of movies.
But it's a good thing those things rarely ever happen to humans. There's some sort of agreement in the animal kingdom. There's a treaty according to
The law of the jungle.
According to the law of the jungle, the animals can't look us in the eye. According to Rudyard Kipling.
It's because we have the red flower.
That's right.
All right. Do you have anything else?
No, that's all I got.
All right. So for you out there in Podcastia, that was the Harris's hawk. So don your brownest coat, take to the skies, and work together to take down your prey like Harris's hawk. You're in life, death, and taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, We'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
The best way is the epicenter of the nuclear bomb. That's the best way.